Britain has a real problem with corruption in its politics. Money buys access in our politics. Money buys power in our politics. Money buys you a seat at the top of the table and it buys you what you want. If you are a Conservative donor and you give the party £3 million, you can effectively buy yourself a seat in the House of Lords. That's a seat in a legislative body for life. You know, for £3 million. I think a lot of people think that's pretty cheap. If you give the Conservative Party £50,000 a year, you get to go to quarterly, off the record, private briefings with the Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers. That's a really cheap deal if you think about it, £50,000. And lots of these people then just so happen to get hundreds of millions of pounds of public money. And I think it's really important to remember that. This is public money. I think as long as money continues to play such a huge role in our politics, we're going to be in trouble. And at the moment, in the competition between money and democracy, money is winning. Geoffrey Cox was the Attorney General, a long-standing Conservative MP, and also a man with private business interests as a lawyer, earning over £1 million a year. On top of his job as an MP, he gets paid a basic salary of £82,000, which some Conservative MPs have said just not enough to live on. And just remember, folks, that's almost 4 times the average income here in the United Kingdom. During COVID, he was representing the British Virgin Island government, so that's a government of a tax haven, in a corruption case against the United Kingdom government. So the United Kingdom government was pursuing a corruption case against the British Virgin Islands and he was defending them. Mr. Cox, we discovered as well, had an interest in a film scheme that had been labelled as a tax avoidance scheme and had been investigated in the past that he hadn't declared. And the thing that strikes you time and again with someone like Geoffrey Cox, who are they serving? Like, who is their master? If someone is a member of Parliament, is that not their job first and foremost? But if they're earning many times their salary as a consultant for a private company, who are they representing? And I think in many ways what we're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. Like, Geoffrey Cox didn't break many rules, but what he did, I think a lot of us have a huge problem with it. And that's the big issue with this. Actually, it's not about necessarily rules. It's about what's right. And if the rules say this is okay, well then the rules are wrong. It's worth remembering that so much of this kicked off in the last few weeks because of Owen Paterson. Owen Paterson lobbied on behalf of Randox. Randox won hundreds of millions of pounds in government contracts to provide COVID testing in particular. Think about what Randox got out of this. For a couple of £100,000, they were able to get a parliamentarian to lobby on their behalf. And at the upshot of that, they ended up with these huge sums of COVID contracts. £500 million in public money. Owen Paterson to this day says, I would do the same thing again tomorrow. I did nothing wrong. The only reason this scandal broke out properly was because the government had so much hubris. Boris Johnson thought he could do whatever he wanted, and he thought he could just knock the whole house of cards down to save Owen Paterson. He realised he couldn't do that because of public pressure from people like Open Democracy, frankly, from journalists, from politicians, from civil society who said, look, we